Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you all are enjoying your Sunday. So today we are going to solve two SQL questions with respect to a single data set, which is user actions. First question will be of easy level and second question will be of medium level. So let's try to understand what data set we have. We have a table user actions where we have two columns. One is user ID, another is actions. User ID is with respect to one user and action is the action taken by that user in that social media platform. There can be n number of actions. For example, one user has liked a picture, commented on a post, uploaded a video, sent a message, and so on. So now we have understood the table. Let's go ahead and read our first question. First question is we need to calculate the most common action taken by all the people. Or I can say that what is the most liked feature by the user. These are nothing but features provided by a social media platform. They are providing a feature of liking a picture, feature of commenting on a post, or feature of uploading a video, and so on. We need to identify what is that most popular action among all these users. So this question is quite easy. We will see how to solve it. Now let's see what do we have in question number two. In question number two, again, we want to identify the most common action, but this time we want to do it by each user. In question number one, the scope was taken by all the people, but in question number two, the scope is taken by each user. Let me show you how the output will look like, and this is how we want our output. I have a data set for 15 distinct user IDs. So that's why as part of output, I should have 15 rows. And for each and every user, we should have respective most common action taken by that user. Now here is a catch. There can be a possibility that for one particular user, there is a tie between two most common actions. For example, here we can see that for user ID 5 and user ID 7 and user ID 9, we can see a tie between two most common actions. In that case, you will have to print both of those actions separated by a comma. And this is what we have written in the question. If there is a tie between some actions for the top position, then you have to print all of them separated by a comma. Now at this point, I would ask you to go ahead and try to solve this question. I will provide all the DDL and DML statement in the comment section. Try to solve it. Okay, so now I assume that you have already tried to solve it. Now let me also try to solve this question. If your solution is different than my solution, then please copy paste your solution in the comment section. I like to see a different approach or different solution for the same problem. Now, before solving question number one, let me tell you one thing that in this video, I am going to deliberately do some mistakes because for a beginner, I want to show them that what kind of a mistake they can do. The second purpose is there are few people who will think that just by reading the syntax of a SQL or just by seeing a video, they will be able to crack the interview. I want to discourage this kind of a mindset because when we read and see a video with respect to SQL, things look very easy. But when we start practicing it, then only we will be able to see that what sorts of a problem we can come across while solving a SQL question. Okay, let's try to solve the question one, which is you need to calculate the most common action taken by all the people. So we can see that as part of this question, the column which should be on focus is action column. So what we will have to do is we will have to do a group by on the basis of this action column. Let's try to do it. So I've already written select star from user actions and then I will do group by action column. Now let me try to run this query and here you can see that we have received one error. I have already copy pasted this error. Let's try to see what error we have received and how to solve that error. So it is saying that column user actions dot user ID. First of all, you need to understand user actions is a table and user ID is a column. So this error has came for this user ID column. It is saying that this column is invalid in the select list. So the first question which should come into a beginner mind that we have nowhere mentioned user ID in this select query, then why it is saying that user ID is invalid? So the answer is very easy. Here you have used asterisk and asterisk means you want to select all the column of your table. That means this asterisk is as equivalent to if I will write user ID, comma, action. If I will run this query, then I'll get the same error message which we have received when we had asterisk in place of these columns. Okay, so now our first doubt is resolved with respect to user ID is invalid in select list. Now SQL Server is little lenient with us. It will also tell you what is the problem. It is saying that this particular column is invalid because it is not contained in either an aggregated function or the group by clause. So here you can see that here I have not used any aggregated function. For example, sum, count, min, or max. So I will rule out this possibility and we will focus only this possibility, group by clause. Let's read it again. It is saying it is not contained in group by clause. Let me do one thing and let me have a column name instead of this asterisk. That way it will become much easier to make you understand. Okay, if I will run it, we will get the same error, right? Yeah. Here we can see that we do have one column as part of group by clause. Then at least as per this suggestion, we should be able to write action over here, if not user ID. So let me do one thing. Let me remove user ID from here because we have received an error with respect to user ID. And now let's try to run this query and see the output. Here we can see that now we were able to run it successfully because this action is part of group by clause. Now by this time you should understand that if anyhow you need user ID in select statement, then you will have to have it in group by clause also. Then only you will be able to run your query. Now we were able to run that query, but this result set is not giving me any required information. What I wanted to do is I wanted to know the most common action, and that's why I do not need user ID in select at all. Let me remove it and let's run this query again. And here I have only a single column as action. If you will notice carefully, then you can see that it is giving me the distinct values of action column. That means you can use this query to know the distinct values of actions. Yes, you can use distinct query also, but I just wanted to tell you that this is also one of way of getting distinct value of action. Now, this was not my motive. Our motive was to know how many times these actions were performed. That means we want to know count with respect to each and every action. That's why I'm going to use count function over here. Now we will read this line number 13 again. It is giving us a hint that you can use your column inside a aggregated function if it is not there in group by. Let me do one thing. Let me show you the data again. And here what I wanted to tell you that inside this count, now you can write user ID. However, we do not have that user ID in this group by, but you can write it inside this count aggregated function because this is what in line number 13 has been mentioned. So let me do one thing. Let me write count of user ID over here and try to run this query now. So here we can see that now we have got count with respect to each and every action taken by the users. Now we are very close to solve our question. We just need to filter out that record which is having the maximum count against an action. Let me do one thing and give this column an alias. So I'll give it an alias of ENT. Now, in order to solve this problem, I will give you two approaches. As I have already told you that I love to see different approaches to solve one single problem. In the first solution, I am going to use top one clause where we will just sort this result set on the basis of count and we will pick top first record from the result set. But before that, we will have to sort this column C and T because it is not in sorted order. Let me use order by clause and I will do it sort on the basis of C and T. Now let's see the result set. Here again, you will see that I cannot use top one because on the top we have a count equal to 11 while the maximum count is at the bottom. Why this has happened? This has happened because when you do a order by or when you do a sorting by default SQL Server or I think every database, they do a sorting by default in ascending order. Okay. So if you will write ASC or if you will not write it is same, it is going to sort your order on ascending basis. Now we need to sort our CNT column in descending order. Let me write DESC and run the query. This time we are again one step closer to solve our question. Now we just need to take top one record from this data set and we are good to solve our question. Now you must be thinking that you can create it as a subquery and on top of it you can just write top, select top one star from this subquery which we have just ran. Okay, so let's try to run this query and see the output. So here we have received one more error. Let's try to see what is this error. It is saying that order by clause is invalid in view, inline function, derived table, subqueries, and CTE unless top, offset, or XML is also specified. Okay, let's do one thing and let's focus on only in line number 14. It is saying that order by clause is invalid in your subquery. Okay, let me do one thing and remove this order by, or let me just comment it out. And then we will try to run this and see the output. Here you can see that it has not given me the desired output, okay? But while giving an interview, you must be thinking that I have written a correct query. Remember, such a small mistake can make a bad impression in front of interviewer, and that's why you have to practice SQL so that you don't commit these mistakes in your interview. Now, it's a good time to focus on line number 15. It is saying that you can use order by clause inside a subquery if you have top, offset, or for XML specified in your query. So let me do one thing and let me specify top one inside my query. And what I'll do, top one star I will run. And this time I will uncomment this order by because whatever condition had to be fulfilled, we have created our query according to that condition. Now let's try to run it and see the output. It is giving me an error that incorrect syntax near action because I have mentioned asterisk over here and it is not required. Let me run the query again and see the output. So it has given me the desired output. But by this time, you should also notice that I have written one replicated step. If I am already selecting top one record in the inner query, then we do not need our outer query. Let me remove this and let's run this query alone. And here you will see that we have got our desired output. So this was the first way of solving our problem. Let's discuss the second solution. Just imagine that while giving an interview, somehow this top one clause is not coming into your mind, and you have only written this query till now. And you need to filter out that record which is having maximum count. What you can do in this case, you can create it as a CTE, and you can write a query like this, that you need to select from this CTE, but you need to select only that row where your count is equal to. And now here you can give one subquery where you can mention select max of count from your CTE, right? I want to filter only that record which is having maximum count. Let me run this subquery separately and show you what is gonna print. So it should print 19 in this case, and let's try to run it. Here again we received the same error. That's similar to subquery. You cannot write a order by clause inside a CTE. So let me do one thing. Let me comment it out and let's try to run our query now. So it has given me 19, which was expected. So you can just think like that. At runtime, this query will replace by 19. So what we are trying to do, let me run our query only till this point. So we are trying to fetch only that record from this result set where CNT equal to 19. That means we will be filtering out only this record. Let me run the complete query, and this time we will get our desired output. So here we have solved this question with second approach also. So in part 1 of this video, we have discussed how to solve question number 1. In this video, we are going to solve question number 2. Okay, so what was the question? Question was, you need to identify the most common action taken by each user. So this is the output we want for each and every user. What is the most common actions? For example, for user ID 1, the most common action was uploading a picture. And similarly, for user ID 2, the most common action was commenting on a post. But if you will come down and you will see line number 5, then line number 7, and line number 9, here you can see that there is a tie between two most common actions. And that's why as an output, we want to show those actions together separated by a comma. And this is what we have mentioned over here. If there is a tie between some actions for the top position, then you need to print all of them with the comma as a separator. So in question number 1, we have done group by action because we were only interested in action column. But this time it is saying that we need to identify the action with respect to each and every user. So this time we will have to do a group by, not only with action, but also with user ID. So let me write it in the same order, user ID and action. Now, what do we want to know? We want to know that one user has taken particular action how many times. As we have discussed in part 1, that whatever column you have written in group by, only those column you will be able to write in select clause. Here, coincidentally, we only have only these two columns, and that's why asterisk will also work. Let me try to run. And here it is working. But for sake of simplicity, I will just remove this asterisk and mention the column over here. Now, what do we want is we want to know the count of all the actions taken by one user. For example, I want to know that user ID 1 has liked a picture how many times. Similarly, user 2 has commented on a post how many times. That means I want to know a count, and that's why as part of this column list, I will generate, this time we will generate a third column and we will write count function. Here again, inside this count function, you can either write user ID or action. Let me write user ID and see the output. We can see that the output got jumbled up with respect to user ID. Let me do a order by user ID and run this query again, see the output. So this is the output. Let me do one thing and give this count as alias. I will call it as CNT. And now this output looks something meaningful to us because now I can say that user ID 1 has liked a picture only once, but user ID 1 has uploaded a picture 3 times. Okay. Now, what was our question? Our question was we need to identify the most common action. If you will see this particular group set, you can identify that the most common action taken by user ID 1 is uploaded a picture. And similarly for user ID 2, the most common action is commented on a post. So my life will become much easier if somehow I can have the most common action at the top of my group, right? In order to achieve that, let me add one more column in order by, and this time, and we want the most common action at the top, and that's why this count should be in a descending order. This should not be in ascending order. Let me run it in ascending order and see the impact. Here you will see that the result set got sorted exactly opposite to our expectation. So I want this count of 3 to be at the top. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna order it by count, but in descending order. And this time we are one step closer to solve our question. We just need to filter out all those rows for each and every user ID where the count of this action is maximum, just like we did in question number 1. But here we have one catch. If I will come down for user ID 5, here we can see that it has two most common activities. One is liked a picture and another one is uploaded a video. Now, how to solve this problem? And the answer is if somehow we can provide a row number or rank and select the topmost row number or rank, then our life will become much easier. Now let me do one thing, and at this point of time, I will introduce one more column. I will use row number and we will see if our problem is getting solved using row number or not. Okay, so I will do a partition by user ID and we will do a order by count column. And again, we will keep it in a descending order only. I will give it an alias of row n. And let's try to run this query and see the output. Here it is showing one error that invalid column name C and T. We are getting this particular error for this C and T. We have used this C and T inside row number order by clause. Now why this error is coming? You are using this C and T in the same select statement in which you are actually generating that column. So you cannot use that column directly inside it order by. You can use the expression and logic of that column, which was used to calculate it, right? So let me replace this CNT with count of user ID, and then we can run our query. And this time we can see that an action item, which is having the maximum value of count, is having a row num of 1. Let me highlight the group of user ID equal to 1. Here I am interested only that row where the row num equal to 1. And again in group number 2, I am interested in that row where the row num is equal to 1, which is comment on a post. But if I'll go to a group of user ID 5, here you will see that the most common action for user ID 5 was liked a picture and uploaded a video both. But our row number function has assigned a different row number for both of them. And now if at this point, if I will have a filter of select star from this result set where row n equal to 1, in that case, this particular row will also get filtered out. And we do not want it to get filtered out because this should be part of our result set. And if you know the difference between row num or rank, then you should be able to answer that. We can replace this row number with rank function and it should solve our problem. Let me run this query and see the output. Here we can see that for user ID group 1, it has given a correct rank, and even for 2 also, it has provided a correct rank for the most common action. And not even for these, but if I'll come down for user ID 5, here we can see that it has correctly provided a rank to like the picture and uploaded a video. Both of them have a rank equal to 1. And now if I will filter the rows which are having rank equal to 1, we will get one more step closer to answer this question. Let me do one thing. Let me create it as a subquery and write select star from this query. Let me just decrease my font. And here I will give an alias to this subquery. Let me also change this alias from row n to rnk, which will represent a rank. And my filter condition should be where rnk equal to 1. Let me run it. And before running it, let me tell you in our result set, we have 15 distinct user ID. So as an output, we should also have 15 rows. Okay. Let me run this query, see the output. What does this error mean? It is saying that you cannot use order by clause inside your subquery. You have to remove it. So let me do one thing. Let me comment it out and run this query again. So we were expecting 15 rows because we were having 15 distinct user ID, but here you can see that we have got 19 rows. And we know the reason behind it because there are few users for which we have two most common action. For example, for user ID 5 and again for user ID 7 and again for user ID 9 and 14. So here come the part 2 of this question where we have to combine these values inside a single row and these values should get separated by a comma. So in order to solve this part 2, we are going to use one function that is string ag. Let me show you the syntax for a string ag. String ag means you need to aggregate the string. You need to combine the string or you need to concatenate the string. Okay. So you need to write string ag and after that you need to provide a parenthesis and inside parenthesis you need to write a column on top of which you want to perform this aggregation. After that you need to provide a separator. This separator can be anything, let's say comma or pipe or any other symbol. After that you need to write within group and then you need to provide parenthesis and similar to rank or row number you need to provide a order by clause over here. So this is the syntax we are going to use. Let me copy it and paste it over here. Okay. So what I will do, I will treat the above query as a CTE. I'll write it as CTE. And yeah, so we're going to use this CTE in our solution. Okay, let's write the final query. We need to select user ID because this is the output we are expecting, right? User ID and most common actions only. So let me write user ID over here and then we will use this string ag function. So I have already told you that inside this string ag function, you need to mention that column on top of which you want to do aggregation or concatenation. So I will just replace this mail with action and my separator will be comma only. But just to differentiate one action with another, let me provide one space. Otherwise it will look a little clumsy. After that, we need to write within group, and then inside parentheses, we need to write order by clause. So here again, we can write any column in order by. Let me write action. And by default, the order of sorting is ascending. So I need not to write it as ascending. I will provide it as an alias of most common action from our CTE. Let's try to run this query now and see the output. So we have got this error. Let me copy paste it and show you. In this error, it is saying that this user ID is invalid in select list because it is not contained either in aggregated function or group by clause. This is correct because you can see over here that I am using one aggregated function inside my query and I have not used any group by clause. That is our mistake. So we need to include a group by clause. And in our case, we need to do a group by on the basis of user ID only. Let me run the inner query first so that it will make more sense to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a group for each and every user so that it will become one group. And once we have this group, we are going to concatenate the values for these actions. So our output will be like 5 and then like the picture, comma, uploaded a video. Okay, so we will have to do a group by with user ID column. Now let's try to run this query and see the output. So here is the output. We were expecting 15 rows and 15 rows got printed out. And as expected, and for user ID 7, we have displayed both the most common actions as an output separated by a comma. So in this video, we have learned how to apply a string aggregated function. We will see the other use cases of this function in the upcoming videos, guys. If you like this video, then please like and subscribe my channel. I'll meet you in the next video. Till then, keep learning, take care, and bye-bye.